joining us now. ProPublica reporter Kavitha Sarana. Thank you very much. You uncovered this. You did this investigation. Tell me about this mother. What happened to her?
Yes, Amber Thurman, as you said, was a 28-year-old mother who became pregnant last summer and decided to end the pregnancy, but she couldn't do that in Georgia. Georgia had just outlawed abortion, so it took her weeks to figure out how to go out of state and take abortion pills. It should be said that abortion pills, major medical studies and organizations have consistently found that they're extremely safe and effective when taken in the first trimester, but complications can develop, and in those cases, patients should immediately go to the hospital, where the standard of care would be what's called a D&C procedure to empty the uterus, and this is the same procedure used for both abortions and for routine miscarriage care. What we know is that Amber developed complications, and by the time she did go to the hospital, she was developing a serious infection, sepsis. Instead of providing a D&C right away, the records we obtained showed it took 20 hours before doctors intervened. They talked about it multiple times, and in the meantime, Amber's condition worsened. Her organs began to fail, and by the time they tried to operate and save her life, it was too late.
Why did the doctors delay?
Well, we've reached out to the doctors in the hospital. We don't know for sure what was going through their head. They didn't respond. What we do know is, a lot of lawmakers that have passed these bans, not just Georgia's, have promised that they have exceptions for the life of the mother or medical emergencies. But these laws are written in ways that experts say are confusing, not rooted in science. They threaten prison time if a prosecutor decides that they're not followed correctly. And doctors have told me that this type of threat can change the dynamics between how they interact with patients. They're no longer able to just say, I'm going to follow my oaths, what's in the best interest of the patient. Now they have to also consider, how does this look on the outside if a prosecutor decided to put this under a microscope? If a jury of people with no medical experience looked at this case, would they agree that this abortion was necessary? Even if they do feel that they can go ahead, they sometimes have to convince nurses and other colleagues to participate, and those other colleagues have the right to decline in states like Georgia. So even if a law has some exceptions when there's the threat of criminal charges and no clarity, it doesn't mean patients get the care that they need.
When we say that she died because of the overturning of Roe v. Wade, who's making that determination?
Well, what we do know is that a committee of experts, every state has a maternal mortality review committee that reviews the deaths of people who were pregnant within the last year. And they reviewed this case, and they specifically said that the delay in care providing a D&C had a large impact on her death, that if she had been provided it, there was a good chance she would survive. We don't know, again, if the doctors were specifically responding to the ban.
All right, Kavitha Sarana, thank you very much. And I understand you have another investigation. There's another woman that you're going to report on soon. Is that right?
We're continuing to report on this. These cases are both from 2022. Maternal mortality review committees are just looking at these cases 2 years later. So we are still continuing to report on this topic. And if you have any information, please reach out to us at ProPublica.com.
Kavitha, thank you very much. And joining us now, Center for Reproductive Rights President and CEO Nancy Northup. Her organization represented Jackson Women's Health Organization in the landmark Dobbs case. All right. So people were warning about this. This is what would happen in response to the overturning of Roe v. Wade, when states were able to decide legally where abortion must be cut off or whether abortion should be allowed at all, taking that decision-making power from doctors and making it a political thing, a legal thing, that the ultimate consequence would be that women would suffer and some women would die. Is this just the first of many stories to come?
Absolutely. I mean, it is an outrage what happened to Amber, and it is just the tip of the iceberg. The Center for Reproductive Rights warned when the Dobbs case was pending that women would die if Roe versus Wade were overturned. And we've been suing. We've sued Texas and Idaho and Tennessee on behalf of women who were at death's door because doctors were afraid to provide life-saving abortion care when they had pregnancy complications. And we see that again here in this Georgia case. We're also part of a lawsuit against Georgia's 6-week ban, saying that it is inadequate, the emergency exception in the state of Georgia. So this is what happens when healthcare is criminalized. And tragically, this is not going to be the last case we hear of.
Politicians, I know you don't want to talk about the politics, but I want to play one political soundbite just because I want you to explain it medically and legally. This is, I believe, J.D. Vance talking about wanting to prioritize women's health.
I'd like to learn a little bit more about this case and understand the details a little bit better, but it's an unspeakable tragedy. It should never happen in this country, and that's why we believe on the pro-life side in the life of the mother exception.
Okay, so he's talking about Amber Thurman in Georgia, and he's talking about the life of the mother exception. If there's an exception for the life of the mother, why is Amber Thurman not alive? Why is she dead? Why is her son now an orphan?
Because what we're seeing in state after state that has banned abortion is that when you are a healthcare provider and you are staring down a long criminal sentence, if a jury or a prosecutor makes a different decision than you did about this being life-saving care, it is very hard to put your patient's interests first in those circumstances. That is not the way medicine should be practiced. Medicine should be practiced with the patient at the center of the care. The standard of care should be given. It was so clear here that the moment that she arrived at the hospital, she needed to have a D&C.
We started this segment by talking about the story of Savita Halappanavar, the woman from Ireland who died of sepsis and a heart attack after she was not helped with the miscarriage that she was having at 17 weeks because Ireland banned abortion. Catholic nation banned abortion. It changed Ireland. It made abortion legal in Ireland. Is this going to have the same effect here in the United States? Is this going to change people's minds about the laws that are currently on the books?
I think people's minds have been changing ever since the reversal of Roe versus Wade. Look, even before Roe v. Wade was overturned, the majority of the American public supports access to legal abortion. But then seeing the consequences of what happens when you ban abortion in a state, it makes it dangerous for anyone to be pregnant in a state. You don't know if you're going to be the person who has pregnancy complications. So it is very similar to what we are seeing anywhere in the world where abortion is criminalized, that you see the kind of health impacts on women, and people realize they don't want to have doctors having to provide health care with a criminal potential prosecution over their heads.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be pregnant in the state of Georgia. I'll tell you that. Thank you very much, Nancy. I appreciate it.